because I can't afford it. Okay, that's partly why I'm not getting a new Mac Pro, but there's actually a little bit more to it. That's more than just the raw cost of the Mac Pro and the Pro Display XDR. And considering this channel does a lot of Mac related content, I thought that I probably owed my viewers an explanation as to why you probably won't be seeing a Mac review on this channel anytime soon. First of all, let's go over the Mac Pro and some of the configurations, and by going over these configurations, maybe we can kind of get a glimpse as to why I really won't be reviewing this product. And brace yourselves, because this is going to hurt your wallet just looking at it. So obviously we do have the base price of the Mac Pro, which we've known about for a while. It's going to start at $6,000 for a 3.5 gigahertz 8-core Intel Xeon processor with 256 gigabytes of solid-state storage, 32 gigabytes of RAM, and the Radeon Pro 580X. In my opinion, that is a horrible value. Now, I know as an Apple user that specs aren't everything, but when you really look at the Mac Pro in Apple's lineup and compare it to some of the other computers that they offer in their lineup, it really does look like a poor value for that base configuration. For example, you could purchase something like the iMac Pro for $5,000 with a similar 8-core processor, a Radeon Pro Vega 56 with 8 gigabytes of HBM2 memory, a better performing graphics card than the Radeon Pro 580X, complete with 32 gigabytes of RAM, and a 1 terabyte solid-state drive for $1,000 less than the Mac Pro. Not to mention that the iMac Pro comes with a fantastic 5K Retina display included. And yes, I know the Mac Pro is a tower, and yes, you could expand and upgrade components yourself as you start to grow out of the base configuration, something that you could not do on an all-in-one design like the iMac Pro. Now, I know the iMac Pro and the Mac Pro are two different types of computers, but I think it really illustrates my point that the Mac Pro at its base configuration just isn't a good value. And almost everyone purchasing these things are adding additional component upgrades right from the start. And speaking of those upgrades, they can get pretty expensive. For example, let's run through a configuration scenario. You can spec the Mac Pro on multiple fronts from an 8, 12, 16, 24, or 28 core Xeon processor. You can also have 32, 48, 96, 192, 384, 768, or an astounding, mind-blowing 1.5 terabytes of RAM. Not SSD storage, actual RAM. 1.5 terabytes. That's literally more than the storage in the iMac behind me. You can also configure the graphics, which granted they start at a pretty lackluster Radeon Pro 580X, but you could configure it with a Radeon Pro Vega 2 with 32 gigabytes of video memory, or two of those with 32 gigabytes of video memory each. Or up to 2 Radeon Pro Vega 2 Duos, that's a lot of twos, and even more options with the Radeon Pro W5700X coming soon. Again, the storage starts at a very lackluster 256 gigabyte SSD for a giant desktop tower, but you can configure it up to 4 terabytes with the option for 8 terabytes coming soon. There's even some special hardware here with Apple's Afterburner card for ProRes video workflows, which is an additional $2,000. And yes, you can even put wheels on your Mac Pro for $400 extra. And honestly, who needs a Tesla when your Mac has wheels? And let's say you wanted the most powerful Mac possible and you wanted to spec this thing out with every single upgrade. You are looking at spending $52,599. Whew, that's a lot of money. And yeah, I'm sure a lot of you are watching the video right now and looking at that $52,000 price tag and going, well, of course you're not buying the Mac Pro, Greg, you can't afford that. And yes, you're absolutely right. I cannot afford a $52,000 computer. But going back to those lower end configurations, something like the $6,000 model with maybe a few upgrades, that is attainable by a few people. Again, it's still a very expensive computer, but if I went for a lower end configuration, I could currently afford it. But even with that lower starting price and even with those lower configurations, I have to accept the fact that this Mac Pro wasn't made for me. And we have to realize that for 99.99% of people watching this video, this computer, this Apple desktop, just simply is not made for people like you and me. The truth is that our money would be much better spent on products like the iMac or MacBook Pro. Unless you're getting paid tons of money where this computer would save you significant time on projects, because let's face it, time is money, and based on some of the videos I've seen like MKBHD's speed test of the Mac Pro versus the 16-inch MacBook Pro and iMac Pro, the Mac Pro beat both of those by a huge margin, rendering 8K red footage in just 4 minutes and 20 seconds. That's compared to the iMac Pro, which took 11 minutes and 56 seconds. That's really impressive, with more than double the performance of the iMac Pro. Granted, he had a higher end spec version of the Mac Pro. It is still some pretty impressive numbers. Again, that's 8K red footage when most people are just getting up to speed on 4K footage. So for someone like me who's not editing raw video and is just working with 4K footage, this really isn't designed for someone like me. And even Jonathan Morrison, who I would think might be one of the people that can take advantage of a truly powerful machine like this, even he admits that this computer is overkill for what he does.
Real talk, this machine is beyond what most of us need, and I throw myself at the front of that list.
This really is an aspirational desktop meant for the highest end workflows. Like, I mean people working on multi-million-dollar films rather than 10-minute YouTube videos. Like, we're talking about a category of people that spend tens of thousands of dollars on their camera, not even counting accessories like lenses or audio interfaces, to get everything working. And I know based on my usage, where I'm using a 2019 iMac and the new 16-inch MacBook Pro, that those two machines currently just chew through all of my footage with ease, and I never feel like I'm currently facing any bottlenecks. So even if money was no issue, even if I did buy this computer, there is no way, with my current workflow at least, that I could truly take advantage of the raw power that the Mac Pro is able to put out, which means as a reviewer, I wouldn't have any idea how to properly test this, and then at that point, I'm not even sure how I would recommend that someone buy a Mac Pro when I'm not the target audience for it and I have no way of putting that machine through its paces. It would kind of be dishonest for me to review that machine and then recommend it to people who have a higher end workflow than me. Now listen, don't get me wrong. I am in no way saying that the Mac Pro is a bad computer, and I'm not even saying that I don't like it. I would probably want to own a Mac Pro. I actually really like the design of it. I like how brutal and powerful it looks, especially with that Pro Display XDR. I think it makes a really cool looking combo. And while I'm making this video and saying that I would never buy one now, I would never rule out the possibility that someday maybe my skills or workflow would advance to the point where I might need an expensive, dedicated Pro desktop tower like the Mac Pro. The fact that it is just the next level desktop showing off the absolute top performance from what you can expect on the Mac platform is something that is valid and is needed to keep pro users using Apple's high-end products. And this product does deserve to exist, especially after the neglect that a lot of pro users have felt ever since the last Mac Pro, which was released in 2013 and hasn't received any significant upgrades, and was really a computer that was not expandable in any way. So I am happy that this product exists for people who can take advantage of it, not to mention the equally as stunning and impressive Pro Display XDR, which in a way is more of a deal than the Mac Pro because of the high cost of other high-end reference HDR monitors. And at this point in my career, the Mac Pro just simply isn't made for me. And while I'd never say never, I don't know if I would ever need that much raw performance one day, at this point I have to accept that this is one of the rare Apple products that isn't meant for a mass market, which in a way is something you can't say about most Apple products. So yes, the Mac Pro is not for me, and I will not be purchasing one. However, I did buy that Pro stand though. Ah yes, the Pro stand, a mere $1,000 for the ultimate culmination of science and art combined into one beautiful obelisk of magic. I must have it. That got a little bit weird, but anyway, if you like this video, make sure you give me a like. If you want to see more from my channel, make sure you're subscribed. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.